spark plug size. We're gonna snug them up.
Sticks, grass, and the weather's not cooperating. And there's a rubber seal around the bottom of these slots. You see those little slots?
That was why, because this. Hey guys, this is Clay with Texasknowhow again. Listen, I wanted to get with you today because on our Crown Vic, we got a DTC of a P0402, and that is excessive gas flow back through the EGR system. Normally you get a 401, which is not enough flow, and that makes sense because if you're circulating your exhaust gases back up through your intake plenum through little holes, that stuff's kind of nasty, it's oily, it's gritty, it's got carbon in it and all that stuff. It's gonna probably clog those holes up over time. So most people get the not enough flow, which is the 401. But getting a 402, that's kind of strange. So usually that means there is something wrong with the EGR valve where it won't close. So it might have carbon kind of caught up underneath the pintle valve and it won't close, or it is a sensor problem. Now, as you guys know, Ford for a long time has used the DPFE, or the differential pressure feedback, EGR is the E, sensor for this. And all that's doing is measuring the differential pressure from a MAP sensor, or absolute sensor in the intake manifold, down in, and then the difference of that one and down in the tube. So whenever you open your EGR valve, they can sense a pressure difference or pressure drop across that junction right there. And when they do, they can measure how much your EGR valve is open or not. So they use a DPFE sensor. All right, so in the 2006 Crown Vic, all of this stuff, including the EGR vacuum solenoid, which also can be separate on the car, all of those things are in one. They're bundled in one little package. So if you replace the EGR valve, you're replacing all three things. And that's kind of good in a way because you just eliminate everything that could be wrong all at once. The only problem is it's pretty expensive. It's 186 bucks at O'Reilly's. Not even, there's 300 and something at the Ford dealership. So pretty pricey little piece of equipment. But when I got that fault, I started debugging around and I took my EGR valve off. Sure enough, looked inside there, I could shoot fluid through the top that goes into the hole where the intake manifold is. I could shoot fluid in there and it would run out the hole where the pipe's coming up from the exhaust. That means it's not shut, and that thing should be normally shut unless there's a vacuum pulling it up. So I knew that something was caught on there and that would cause the excessive flow. So I cleaned the valve. Got some carb cleaner, shot in there, even put it down in some carb cleaner and let it soak for a while, and it cleaned it up. The problem is I put it all back on, and the kids are using this car in college, so they drove all the way back, 3.5 hours back to college, and everything worked good for a few days, and then the light came back on with the same excessive flow. So I was like, dang, what's going on with that thing? I guess I'll just replace it. So the next time we were in town where they live, I took a new one from O'Reilly's. I just changed it right there in the parking lot. It's real simple to do. I'm gonna show it to you here in a minute. And we thought all was good. And then I got the sensor error again, the 402. So right now I'm looking at the car. I thought, what a good time just to give you guys a video on this. I went and looked on YouTube. I didn't see too many of these. I found one video where a guy just changed it, period. He didn't do any testing on it. He just said, hey, since it's all one unit, something's wrong with it. I'm getting these codes. So I'm just gonna change it, and he changed it. And hey, that's good, I'm glad he made a video, but I kind of wanted to show y'all how it works and how you can debug a few things on it just to make sure that you're gonna replace this $180 or $300 part and it's gonna fix it. If you're getting a 401, again, if you're getting the not enough flow, the best thing you need to do is just take it all off and clean everything and look up into the intake manifold right there, the plenum where it hooks on, and make sure that there's not clogged up. If it's clogged up, or that pipe that's coming up from down below is clogged up, that's the whole problem. It's just not getting any flow. And I'll show you in a minute how you can turn on the car and quickly test to see if it's opening it up and getting flow. If it is, then your vacuum system and all that's there's nothing wrong with it. You may have a bad DPFE sensor. And again, this was built onto the top of this one. So let me turn you around and point you at the car so you can see what I'm talking about. All right. So here is the animal right here, and I've already got the wire unhooked from it for debugging, but this is the way you'll see it. So it's got two vacuum lines that just come down. All they do is they just circle back and they go right here to has three little tubes coming out right here on this vacuum, and this is pulling straight from the base of the throttle body plenum, so you got a lot of good vacuum right here. This is coming over. One other thing that needs vacuum right here close on these Crown Vics is the fuel pressure valve right here. So you got vacuum on it, and then two of them are going up here. One of these vacuums is actually giving the MAP input, the manifold absolute pressure input, through this little hose underneath here, and that is going to this little square, which is the DPFE sensor, which sometimes has little lugs right here, and it's over on the sidewall with two little vacuum hoses underneath it. So if you have that kind, it's just a little bit before they combine everything like this together. Here's the other hose for the DPFE, so it gets a differential. So one is the MAP, and one is coming right from where they're drawing from the exhaust under here. Okay, that's that. Then this is just like your vacuum, EGR vacuum solenoid. So it needs vacuum as well, and it gets a pulse through this wire to open up and let some of this vacuum pull this big diaphragm up. When that gets pulled up, you're opening up a valve right in here, and here's the big heated tube coming up from your exhaust right here. Can y'all see that? Right there at the tip of my finger. It's coming into the bottom of this with a big nut right here that you have to take off if you're gonna remove this, and then there's two 10mm bolts right under here if you want to take this whole thing off. It's fairly simple to take off. So the reason I'm showing you this again is because not too many people talk about this all in one unit like this, and I wanted to debug it and find out what's going on, and I thought, hey, I'll make a video of this and put it out on YouTube and help you guys out. So by the way, Ford calls this whole unit right here the ESM, or the EGR, EMS, EGR management system, So basically, EGR management system, EMS. So you might search on YouTube for EMS, Ford EMS, or something like that, and you might get some more videos for this. But I tried, and again, only found one. So there you go. Let's get on this thing. I'm probably going to do some back probes on here and just make sure I got everything. But the first thing I want to show you is how you can see if your diaphragm's okay, and if you, through your vacuum solenoid, can you make this thing open, and do you have good flow all the way through? Because everyone knows is when the car's idling, if you are to activate this EGR valve, you'll almost kill it, because it just gets that raw air back in here, and it's got a low fuel flow already, so you just go extremely lean and you die. So the way you do that is you pop this little cap off right here. It's got some little clips on it. Let's see if I can show y'all. Some little clips that you can just undo each one with your fingers. Let's see if I can get it like that. And then this little thing will come off. Be gentle with it, because the little bottom clip is very sensitive right here on the bottom. You set that aside, and then there's a little filter right here that you're going to wiggle, and get it off. See that? So we'll leave it in there. Just leaving it right in there. Now there's a vent hole right here. Whenever we start the car and it's idling, I'm just going to hold my finger on that. That'll force this vacuum to pull on this diaphragm, lifting up the valve and letting the exhaust gases come into the plenum, which is going to kill it. So this is how you can check to see if everything's flowing well. So if you've got a 401, do this right here, and I bet you your car won't die, because you're clogged up, and you take all this off and clean everything. But if you do this and your car dies, it's working. You may have a hole in one of these vacuum lines. Check that as well if you're getting a fault. Check that. Okay, it'll be a no flow, because if you have a hole in a vacuum line, you're probably not running real well because you got a vacuum leak, but also you're not going to be able to pull vacuum on your diaphragm to open it up. So let's do that quick test. I'll put my finger over this. Hear it? know that the we know that the EGR valve is opening and getting those exhaust gases up into here and making it go lean. As soon as I touch this, almost killed it, okay? So, with that in mind, we know that it's opening, we know nothing's clogged up. That wasn't my error anyway. My error was too much flow, which means it won't close when it's supposed to. I think it's working perfect. I think something else is going on. And that something else might be that we have a vacuum leak somewhere and the O2 sensor is getting involved and saying, hey, you know, I open this up, it acts a certain way, and then I tell it to close, and I don't really get the response I'm needing from that O2 sensor when I tell you to close. I should go back to a certain place, and it's not going back to it. So I want to probe right here and see if the DPFE sensor is actually working right. So I'm going to get that hooked up, and then I'll be right back because I don't want to probe around on this with it going. I want to try to figure everything out without power on it. Right, so now that I got the engine off, let me hook up some of these little back probes. I've got I have a manual that I bought online for this, and if I look here at the ESM, that's what it was. ESM, I was saying EMS, it's ESM, which is EGR System Module, okay? EGR System Module, ESM. If I look on there, I can see that the pin out, so the control of this is pin number 1. V reference, which I should have 5 volts with the key on, is pin 2. And all of these are gonna be, let's see. If you look, this is the ESM, or the EGR System Module, and these are the wires going to it. So what we've got to do is we have to back probe this and not short out our computer or ground something that shouldn't be ground and blow a fuse or something like that. So you want to be very careful and understand what you're doing here. So EVR is the EGR vacuum regulator. That's the one that if we trigger this, and it is a ground activated, and I'll show you that on the back of the, when I unplug the connector here, if I don't have 12 volts on this and the key's on, this is a negatively activated vacuum regulator. So if that's the case, and we'll prove it, then we'll have a back pin on here. We'll be able to push that to ground with a troubleshooting light, and it should do the same thing that we did with our finger a while ago. It should pull the car down and make it almost die. If that's the case, then we know that that part of the system is working as well. This right over here is your DPFE signal, right there, DPFE. So that is pin number 5. So pin 5, that's the voltage that we should be looking at when the key is on and nothing else. It should be about 0.5, 0.6, 0.7, something like that. And then as you give it the gas and you energize this thing, the vacuum regulator, and we start moving that piston to give the exhaust gases back to the intake manifold, this should sense a differential and the voltage should climb up. And then as soon as we let go, that volt should come right back down. Now this is excessive flow I'm getting, so I'm expecting this to lag a little bit, but I want it to come right back down. So that was the problem I'm having, is it's staying on too long. Once we uncommand this is staying too high. So that's the error I'm getting anyway, a 402. So I'm just going to show you how I test this real quick without hurting something, and then hopefully it'll be clear to you how you could test yours and find out what's going on with your EGR system module. I'm going to got you guys zoomed in, but this starts out and it is pin on the top. If you're looking at the back, it's pin 1, 2, 3 across the top, and then 4, 5, 6 on the bottom, left to right. So it's left to right and then left to right. So pin 1 is the EVR, and it's a brown with a pink stripe on this car. So I'm just going to put my sharp pin right down beside that wire until I bottom out on the connector in there. All right, I think what I'm going to get is, since it's a ground side activation on that EVR, is I'm going to get a 12 volts right there, and it's looking for a ground from the control module to actually turn on and make current flow. So there's 12 volts coming into the middle of this on pin 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, the one right below it right here will have 12 volts as well, okay? And then what we'll do is we'll have 12 here, but if I start to ground this with my test light, then it should activate just like I did when I put my finger on it. So let's try that. That way we know that the actual vacuum, the solenoid in here is actually activating. Keys on, let me see if y'all can see this if I hold it. So if I put that right there, hopefully y'all can see. I don't know if you can see that or not with the reflection. But I'm going to check from ground to this pin, and it's probably going to be 12. Yep, so there's my 12 volts. I got to get a good ground. There it is. Okay. Then if we check, let me just get another pin, and if I check, got to be careful when you're doing 2 pins, because you can short these 2 pins together, and that would not be good. But that's also 12. Just put it on the battery over here on negative. Yeah, see, there's my 12. So I've got 12 on both of those right now. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take the EVR low with the test light while the engine's running, and we should get that same activation, okay? Y'all can hear that the engine's running. Hopefully you can still hear me with the microphone. But we start taking, this is hooked up to the negative side of the battery, my little test light. If I touch this, it's going to energize, and we should pull this down. See that? Just killed it. So we know that everything's working right. When I pulled the EGR valve open at an idle, it killed it. So we know that our solenoid's working, we know that our capacitors are clean, we know that everything. So the only thing we need to watch right now is we need to look at the voltage. And it's good that the key's on right now. Let's just look at the voltage on the DPFE while it's just sitting here. And that's pin 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is the middle bottom one. Let me just take this off so I can get this pin in here a little easier. We want, if I take that off, by the way, number 5 right here should be 5 volts. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I just dropped my pen. Dadgummit. I have another one, but I got to find that. Those are my pins. I can't find very many. So right here, if I just check this right here, I should be at 5. There's 5 volts on the voltmeter. I don't think you can see it, but let me see if I could get this just to stay. 5 volts. Okay, so that means that the signal, the signal coming to this is all okay. So now what I want to do is hook this back up, but I want my pin to be in number 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is this one right here. So I'm going to put my pin in here like that. Plug this back up. And with the key on, let's see what we got in here. So negative on the battery, and check under here. 0.471. I'd say that's very close to 0.5. So this is my new unit. Everything should be working right. If I had something like 0.1, 0.2, something like that, that DPFE sensor would probably be bad. So you guys tell me what you think this is. I still get that 402 every once in a while. It takes a long time for it to set, but everything seems to check out. My DPFE valve. The only thing I haven't done is watch it when I energize this. So I guess I could kind of watch my voltage go up. How would I do that? So I would use the light to start triggering this while it's running and watch that voltage at the same time. Let's do that. Might as well. So I've got my light here. I'll get that other pin. We'll set that up. Let me go turn my key off for a minute. I want to run my battery down. Can y'all see that? There you go. Like 0.7, something like that. 0.6 now with it idling. So that's about right. Now watch, I'm gonna use my light. I'm gonna barely give it a little bit of the signal here to close it, and let's see what happens to our voltage. Woo! Doesn't take much. If I just tap it, goes up to 0.7, 0.8, 0.9. I'm kind of just giving it a little tap. So I would say it's responding correctly. So, dang it guys, y'all tell me where I'm getting that 402 error, okay? It could have something totally different to do with this. I mean, it could be, like I said, the O2 sensor, or it could be the the MAF sensor over there, the mass flow. I mean, maybe it's dirty and I think it's not getting enough air or something. I don't know, man. Something crazy is going on with this thing. But that's how you test this, and usually you would find a DPFE valve, I mean a sensor, this thing on top that we've been checking the voltage on and stuff, you usually see it go bad. So, and normally what you'd see, the way I've seen everybody online and everything, the voltage is way low. So it'd be like a 0.1 or 0.3, something like that, when it's supposed to be a 0.5 or up. So there you go. There was no videos on this except just changing it. I figured y'all can take 2 bolts out and take that thing off and change this, no problem. It's testing it to find out what's wrong with it. It's the key. And usually with a 401, again, with the 401, it's clogged somewhere. So you do all the tests that I just did, and if it doesn't make the engine die, it's clogged. You need to take stuff apart, get all that carbon out, clean it up. And you may have to just do like I did and replace this whole unit, because if it's so clogged up down in here inside the unit, you can't get it clean, you can't get it to operate nice and smooth and off and on real quick. Like this one's pretty quick. As soon as I touch it, and it's instant. My old one wasn't, and that's going to cause problems. So a little bit expensive, but that's how you test it right there. All right, guys. So now that you can hear me a little better, let me know what you think about this, because I'm still getting that P0402, which is excessive flow. I don't get it very often. It comes like my kids will drive it, a lot of in-town driving. They won't get on the highway very much. They'll just drive it a lot of in-town driving. And they'll get this code. Every once in a while the check engine light will come on, they'll put the little PID reader on it, and it'll be a 402. So that's new. It seems to be working exactly like it's supposed to. Within the ranges on it on voltage. So, I mean, the car is in immaculate condition. Not because I did everything, but just it was really taken care of in the police force. And then I've done a few little things, like I changed the intake manifold on it because it had a leak. I put new O-rings around all my injectors, to make sure that they were new, and I lubed them before I put them in there so that they wouldn't be leaking by air. And what else I do? Clean the carburetor. I cleaned the throttle body a little bit when I had that all apart. And new coil packs. I put new coil packs on it because I had a couple of them that were cutting out. New filters and stuff like that, and oil change and all that. But other than that, I haven't done anything to it. So you guys let me know, what could it be? Those of you guys that are out there on the internet and you've got a scanner, because I don't have one. I just use voltmeter and some basic troubleshooting, stuff. I do have a PID reader, and it does do a couple things, like it can plot EGR. This is one thing I was going to ask. It has the EGR percent error, and when this thing's idling, it's on 99.2 all the time. I don't know if that means it's 99.2% accurate or it's way off when it's idling, but then whenever you give it some gas and this thing opens up a little bit, because I can also show the EGR commanded on or off. I should show you all that. Then that percentage varies around. Y'all let me know. All right. Until next time, we'll see y'all. This is Clay with Texas Know How.